And I think we're live. Good morning, Big Brother is watching you. Welcome to the Morning Minute Show with myself, Michael Bergio, and Mark Novak. And this morning, we're going to be talking about rental payments, the ledger in particular, and also your mortgage repayments and the potential repercussions, you could say, or grey cloud question mark on those payment histories. Maybe not now, but potentially in 6 months, in 12 months, in 3 years' time. Will you be judged on how your actions today? Mr. Novak, what do you think?
Yes.
Yes, done. Thank you for watching, everybody.
Thanks for watching, everyone. See you later. Now, look, I think it's been a little bit misinterpreted by people because by tenants that are paying rent, by being told that they can't be kicked out for 6 months, by being told that if there was been any misperformance on rental payments, that cannot be held against them with the credit reference Australia. So that, in terms of bad reporting, but that's just through that period. So it doesn't actually mean that come catch-up time, they're not going to be back on the clock. They're not going to be committed to. And same goes with mortgage repayments. I can't help but to think, guys, and I'd love to know people's comments out there on this, but I can't help to think that you're not going to be held accountable for your non-payment. So let me give you an example. I am in hospitality.
Yes.
And I have frozen all my payments. Like I say, I got 2 mortgages. I've frozen both mortgages. In 6 months, I'm going to go for a loan in December. In December, you can't tell me if I've been frozen. Actually, can I give you a better example? This is a bit, I'm putting myself into a corner on this one. On those 2 mortgages, I paid perfectly.
Yes.
When I go for a mortgage in December through a bank, the bank's not going to say, I'm not going to give you a loan. But if the bank sees that I've been military in my payments through COVID-19, that's got to help me.
100%.
And I think everyone is missing that. Everyone is missing that. If you've been a model citizen with your payments, I think that's got to help you in future.
I definitely agree. Like, they say it can't be used against you, but what like perception and how people think and how they look at things, you can't get rid of it. So you made a great example last night when you had an interview with Rosie. Even like when going for an application for a rental property, do you just want to say that again? Because put yourself in your mum and dad investor shoes. The agents called them for an application on their property. Like, first of all, they're probably going to want to know what industry they're in. Just like some banks right now have basically blacklisted some people in some industry. Okay, not blacklisted, but anyone who had a pre-approval in that sector, they're basically looking at them with a fine-tooth comb. They're saying, are they still working reduced hours? They want so much more information because they know their industry is in risk. So go through that example you said last night.
To support what you just said, if you told me I had a 29-year-old pilot that wanted to move into an investment property that I own, if you told me that 6 months ago, I'd be like, yeah, a pilot.
Put them in.
They're minted for sure. Yeah. Now, if you told me that, I'd be like, geez, the younger pilots are the ones that are going to find it hard to get a job. The older ones are going to get their jobs back first, but still hard to get a job. The world's changed. So the example I was giving was if you got people, again, let's use hospitality industry, right? Yeah, and they're applying for a rental property in December this year. What happens is the landlord now starts getting funny about industries. So they used to be like, is it a secure job? But that whole secure job interpretation's changed. So you say to your landlord, look, unfortunately, they're both in hospitality. She's a cook and he's a this. And the owner goes, no way, I'm not going to put them in. And you go back to the tenant and say, look, the owners, said no to the application. And that's going to happen a lot, guys. And people don't realize
100%.
That's going to happen a lot. But if those two cats that are in hospitality, if they supply a rental ledger and they explain to the agent, look, I'm a chef in a hospital, and look, and his wife says, look, I do the same thing as well. And you go back to the owner and say, look, yes, they're both chefs, but have a look at their rental ledger. Through COVID-19, they did not miss a beat. These are model citizens based off their ledger. That's got to help you. So what I'm saying is, if you can hoard cash now, or if you can consistently make your ledger look spunky and pay on time, make your ledger, because it's going to have to be paid anyway. The rent's going to have to be paid. The mortgage is going to have to be paid anyway. If you have got the ability, pay it, because it's just going to be spunky in the future when you go 100%. To get a loan or a rental property.
And also, at a minimum, g'day, Lisa's on, Admiral, Danny, welcome, Andrew Cole, great to have you guys on. Love your feedback, chuck it in here, and your comments. And
do you guys agree, or think we're crazy?
Yeah, do you guys agree that someone, Boobs, good to see you. Do you guys agree that owners will actually look at people differently based on this period in 6 months' time? And you know what will be the worst? Will be if there's just no payments. Let's go to the example that you can't pay fair enough and you're on the assistant, but you call the agent and you say, guys, I'm down 60%, but I've got an extra $300 a week and I'm going to put that to rent. I know my rent's normally $600, but $300 I'll be able to catch up. Compared to nothing. Like, the owners are going to be looking for no payments, because that's actually going to be a lot worse. Because Mark, an owner is going to be like, all right, let's say you did have it tough, at least call us and have a conversation rather than just not pay at all. I think that's going to work really badly against a lot of people moving forward, that there wasn't a conversation around it, and there wasn't any rent paid. Don't you reckon?
Look, if you got no money or money, goodwill goes a long way.
Yes,
100%. And I think at the end of the day, we all get it if times are bad and times are tough. But what owners also get is goodwill. So if you cannot and do not have the ability to pay, or you cannot and do have the ability to pay half, and you've put a lot of effort in explaining that to an owner why their rents are going to be reduced for a short period, and you're really putting in an effort, that goes more than the money. That goes more than the money. So, and then that ledger is just recording everything. And banks are saying they're not going to use it. That's why this morning we used Big Brother. Banks are saying they're not going to use it. Government's saying that it cannot be used through the COVID period as something against you. But you can't say, looking back in the future, that it's not going to affect. So I think it's a really, really important topic at the moment, and it's something that I think a lot of people have been happy to overview. But now they're actually, as everything's settling down, now people are looking into their own backyards of finance.
Yes, 100%. So, and not to mention, especially with your loan repayments, Mark, you pay more. So you may get a bit of reprieve. However, you are paying more eventually at the end of the loan. Like, I think the figures on, say, $1 million loan or a $600,000 loan are $20,000 to $30,000 in addition at the end of the term. So the
banks just increased their loan books.
Yep.
For anyone who deferred, they just increased their loan books probably about 5. I don't know, there's a percentage there, guys. There's
Lee Severino, good to have you on.
Hey, Lee. There's a percentage there. So the banks just increased their loan books because this is profit. So when they delay the payments, they're delaying these payments over the term of the loan, which is potentially 20 or 30 years. So their profits on $1 just got pushed over a 30-year period on $100,000, right? So there is a percentage. So like if you're CBA and you have just delayed all of your customers 6 months, as an example, I know that hasn't happened, but as an example, then your loan book just grew automatically without a sales force, without mortgage brokers. It just grew by 5% overnight like that. So, you know, it's, and that's in the bank's interest. If you can pay those mortgage repayments, that's not in the consumer's interest. But at first thought, I would say, hey, that's great.
Yeah, everyone came out thinking the banks came up with this whole marvelous scheme for COVID-19, but Mark, they've always had hardship clauses in the contract. They just never told anyone. They just never told anyone. How many people thought?
If you rang the bank and asked, you're right.
And they're actually making more money where everyone's copying a loss through COVID. They're actually making more money, longer loan terms. So it's, I think everyone needs to work together, do what they can, and just communicate. So, because,
there's industries that what we're talking about today is sometimes if you've got the ability to pay that rent, majority of that rent, some of that rent, all of that rent.
Yes.
If you've got the ability, whether it's rent or whether it's a mortgage, it is in your best interests. Definitely in your best interest to do it. Now, look, simply, some people don't have the ability. Some people, their industry's been hit so hard that we're disarmed. We cannot fight, and they're the people that truly needed these freezing of mortgages, or people that truly needed the rent to be reduced. We get that.
Yeah.
But we can't.
G'day, Mitch. G'day, Corey. Good to have you guys on. What are we talking about today, Mark? We are talking about rental payments, mortgage ledger, and about Big Brother watching, where, yes, the government have said that they will not be using basically the ledger or your repayments against you in the future. But we're basically saying, come on, guys, what owner is not going to look back in favor of you for paying all your rental payments during COVID or not? And also goodwill goes a good way. If you cannot make the payment, having a chat with your owner, because a lot of people are just, you can't kick me out, I'm not paying, and you don't hear anything from them. Put yourself in that owner's shoes, and like that goodwill will go a long way. And then also with mortgage repayments, they've also said it won't count as a deferral with banks, but seriously, when they look back and they go, what's your risk rating? When they go, well, you are vulnerable, even though it's almost a lifetime pandemic. What we've learned from banks, regardless if it's once in a lifetime, they still look at it quite heavily. Look at Mark, flooded areas like Collaroy Beachfront. All those premiums went through the roof because they're in risk of the high tides. Now, that wasn't as bad as it was before we had the bad weather and it washed away the shoreline. But after it, the figures have been a lot higher. But you would think to yourself, come on, but it was once in 100 years. It's just happened. It's not going to happen again. But no, they still take it into consideration. So that's what we're saying today, guys.
And I guess I've just come up with the word, it's profiling.
Yeah.
It's profiling. So if you want to profile a tenant and you want to profile a prospective mortgage, if you're a bank trying to profile the applicant, in this day and age, our point out of today's chat is that the ledger, your mortgage payment ledger or your rent payment ledger, is going to model your profile as a tenant, good or bad. It will. And
as Lisa says, reputation sticks. Bottom line, good or bad, your reputation.
That reputation. Now, it's pretty easy to call bullshit. Allow me to give you an example. I had a landlord call me yesterday, self-managing. He said, mate, my operator on the property that we're looking after has chosen to just lay down and play dead. So what do you mean? He said, well, in the restaurant business. He hasn't even opened the door since COVID started. He hasn't attempted to make coffees, even just a coffee. He hasn't attempted to do takeaway, whether it be Uber Eats or whether it be Deliveroo or deliver themselves. He's just not attempted. So why should I, as a landlord, and this is it. This is profiling. This is what was the word Lisa used?
Reputation.
This is reputation. This guy is just like playing dead. Now, why should I, as a landlord, have to support someone who wants to, or it's fight or flight, right? This person doesn't want to fight. Why should I fight for this person?
It's true. Like there's people out there that are pivoting, the magic word of 2020, pivot, with different things.
And essential.
Yeah, there's changing it up, trying to get an income stream. And if you went to the owner and said, this guy does this normally, but because he can't do that trade, now he's doing this, this, and this. He's trying to get people through. He's trying to get a little bit of income. One, so he can eat, but two, so he can fulfill his commitment of rent rather than just closing the door and saying, well, I'll wait for it to be over. So,
and you're being profiled. You're being watched by Big Brother. So, you know, the banks are going to turn around and profile you off, and it's not going to be hard to find the information because they're going to grab these ledgers that we're talking about. They're going to look at you and say, you know, how does this fit into our computer system? How does this person's profile? And the same with tenants. When they're going to go rent another property, they're going to be profiled off that ledger. It's very, very, you know, it's Michael, it's a difficult conversation to have, but I just know, you know, I know black and I know white, and I know how it's going to work if looking back from December, looking backwards on this. And I know, and we almost couldn't have this conversation 3 or 4 weeks ago because there was so much unemployment.
And we didn't know where it was. We didn't know how bad it was. World War III sort of thing.
Didn't know, but now it just feels the right time to say, guys, if you've hoarded cash and you're coming out of this, look, a big thing that I'm excited also for is the physios, dentists, and chiropractors all swung their doors open on the 27th. When was the 27th? Yesterday. And that was great news. I was very interested that it was done covertly. I hear that there was announcements, but certainly no big ones.
Yeah, definitely ease the way into it, which is a great sign. But that's like an example. Think of it like if people think to themselves when they're walking down the street and they just see the business closed and you go, hang on, isn't that essential? They could be open. You think that to yourself, you instantly profile them going, well, isn't something better than nothing? And then when you see a business that's open, you go, they normally do this, but I understand why they're not doing it that anymore. They can't. And now they're doing all of this and they're opened even more. And you're just like, wow, they're doing their part. So anything else you want to add into this, Mark?
Yeah, I do want to talk about that exact topic, the champions out of COVID, because I think these people need a pat on their back.
Yeah.
There's the people that play dead. I don't want to talk about them. The people that are actually come out of this, pivoted, and look, they haven't killed it, but geez, they've killed themselves trying. I want to celebrate those businesses. We'll have a chat about that one maybe tomorrow.
100%. Yeah, I think we should. And it's like, even like with us, Mark, where deals and inquiries down, workload through the roof. And that's just what it's all about. So I'd love to hear anyone's comments, feedbacks about this as well. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are you a landlord? Are you a tenant?
There, if you guys want a topic that we go through, discuss, just pop it in there, guys, if you can.
Lisa Ray, what do the customers think about businesses that shut that could have stayed open? 100%. If your barbershop closed, then you're like, they could have stayed open. You just think, oh, they must have heaps of money. Wow. Because
even if they did, I don't think it's community. I don't think it's people who went into voluntary lockdown when the government told them to stay open. Don't rate them.
Yeah. Okay.
See you, Ledge.
Yeah, don't rate them. Alrighty, guys. Thank you, everyone, for watching. It will be podcast. We just hit 2,500 views on our podcast as well last week, didn't we, Mark?
Yeah, popular. I actually don't listen to podcasts.
Neither. I've only logged in a couple of times, but we're very fortunate. We got, I think Nikki does it in here. So really happy for you guys to watch it. Obviously, most of them are us talking, so we don't want to hear ourselves. But I'm glad people are listening to it. Would love to know if they do questions on the podcast, Mark. I'd love to get some interaction from that.
Yeah, no questions on the podcast. No,
okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
But it's there, guys. It's there as a service. And some people, I think, find it more convenient when they're in a bus or when they're exercising or whatever to listen to a podcast. So, giddy up.
Thank you very much. Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone. See ya. Bye. I saw Angry Anderson this morning.